Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for coming along to our annual members meeting. We have apologies received from Alan Barker of Skills Tech, Tony Barker of Eastern Counties Access Solutions, Sue Barry of Light Industries, Gail Hounsley of Warworth Limited, Chris Thomas of Chase Manufacturing, and Mike Clayton of Total Access. The next and important thing on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the previous annual members meeting held on 10th of March 2017. Can I have someone please to propose those minutes? Spontaneously, thank you, David. Yeah. And can I have someone to second those minutes? Also spontaneously.
Steve.
Yeah. No, I'm taking David Gray.
Okay.
Are there any matters arising from the minutes of the last meeting? I'm awfully glad because it says here there were no matters arising from the minutes of the last meeting. Next one, finance. You are asked to receive the accounts, the audited accounts of the last financial year. There is no need to propose or second them because you are asked to receive them. They have already been approved by the council. And that takes me rather nicely on then to the chairman's address. Oh, may I check you? If you've not already done so, could you please switch your phone off? I did it last night, and that's why it's a bit late this morning. So, retiring chairman, Mr. Martin Brooke, the floor is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, honoured guests, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the 59th, 60th or 63rd annual meeting of the Ladder Association. We really must get this right, Peter.
Yeah.
This is also my last AMM as chairman, or chairperson, or chair, or whatever we have to use these days. As I get older, time seems to be speeding up. It certainly does not feel like 3 years since I was stood here. Well, not exactly here, it was in Sutton Coldfield, to accept the post of chair from Cameron Clough. Unfortunately, Cameron is no longer with us. He's not dead, he just can't be here. A question. What is the difference between a poorly dressed man on a unicycle and a well-dressed man on a bicycle? Attire. See, two tires, clothes. Right, okay. The British Ladder Manufacturers Association was a poorly dressed man on a unicycle, but the Ladder Association is fast becoming the well-dressed man on a bicycle. In a short space of time, we've gone from a manufacturer's private club to a professionally run association of 60 members with many associates. An executive committee, council, and technical committee offer industry help and advice. We have a training committee advising on courses for users and inspectors with 35 main and 75 satellite training centres around the UK. We sit on the B512 Ladder and Step Ladder Standards Committee at BSI. We've influenced the HSE in their guidance literature, advised on new telescopic ladder standard, and were recently invited to an all-party group in Parliament looking at safer ways of working at height. None of these could have been achieved without the selfless work done by LA's members, all of whom volunteer their time to attend committees, help at exhibitions, give talks, and take part in testing. All for the good of the industry as a whole. But none of that could be achieved without the support and excellent work done by our Glasgow Secretarial Office, and in particular, Mr. Peter Bennett, it says here.
It says here.
He, more than anyone, has cajoled, persuaded and pushed to get our association to where it is today. No, wrong one. Right. For those of you who know what this is, I'd like to just keep quiet for a minute. And to identify what it is, you have to do a little lateral thinking outside the box. Anybody know? It is grains of sand. Every one is different on every beach. And I show this as an example of how the LA also thinks outside the box. I'm pleased to announce that in the not too distant future, hopefully by the end of this year, we will be setting up a test and research facility to help all manufacturers and industries design simpler and safer access equipment. And with other associations, we've also set up the Falls Foundation charity to help and advise people who've had injuries working at height. What have I done to deserve my place in the past 3 years? Well, I've given demos and talks at HSE SHAD Days, Safe and Health Awareness Days, represented the LA at various meetings, and I've also been a little elf, being the UK representative on the European Ladder Federation, along with France, Italy, Spain, Sweden, and Germany. Now, we think we have problems with government legislation. Europe goes from Spain, that has no HSE or any independent body to oversee safety or check manufacturers, to Germany, where their equivalent of RLA is contemplating taking the German government to court because they are proposing to ban all ladders with rungs from industrial use. They think all ladders should have treads or steps. It would be interesting to see what they'd recommend to these guys. This is a tower with a ladder going up the side, and these are the guys working on top of the tower. And this is a water cooler. Now, you try doing that job with a moop or some scaffolding. Find it a bit tricky. But I think my proudest moment was leading the elephant out of the room and putting it somewhere safe. When I came into the chair, most ladder manufacturers made roof ladders, but nobody, not the makers, not the various roofing bodies, not even the HSE, gave any guidance as to how to use the bloody things. It was left to the user to make it up. Well, with the help from the LA technical people, we put together a business case to BSI, got a committee together, and now EN 8634 is born. It's not perfect, and no doubt will be revised and amended, but at least now we have a standard for roof ladders. And more importantly, manufacturers will be issuing instructions for their safe use, and the LA training committee are going to be putting a training course together. As a matter of interest, does anyone here know what the letters EN stand for in front of all the standards? Well, it is Greek for within or in. So, within 131 is the standard. Learn something every day. Finally, I would like to thank two people. One, David Walker, and the second, Paul Bruton. They've been on the exec with me, and they've been really supportive and really helpful. I've been honoured to be asked 3 years ago to do this job, and the time's just flown, and I've really enjoyed it. Firstly, I'd like to thank David for all his help and support and contribution. Unfortunately, he's going to be retiring from exec and council. We're going to miss him. And secondly, Paul, for all his hard work, and he is going to be your new chairman, chairperson, chair, whatever, when I leave, which is now. So I'd like to now invite him to come up and take the honorary jewel, if I can extract it from my microphone. This is tricky, hang on. Went so smooth in rehearsals.
Do I have to?
No, you don't have to bend down, you cheeky bugger. There, wear it with pride. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Well, I'm pleased to say that Martin, if you could just stay for a moment.
Yes.
My first duty as chairman is to give our thanks to Martin for all his hard work in the last 3 years. I think it's very rare that you see somebody who come into a position like this with such passion. And Martin, I know, has really enjoyed supporting the association, and we've really enjoyed, Martin, your chairmanship. So
thank you.
I'd like to offer you this on behalf of the association.
Wow. Thank you. That's a lot better than the pointless trophy.
And if we just
literally
put it on top of the light here. Is that the right way around?
Oh, wow. Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you.
So you get the stand and the light as well. So.
I'm impressed. Thank you very much. That's fantastic. I don't know what to say. I'm touched.
No,
Thank you.
Martin.
Thank
Well
you.
done.
Thank you.
I shall keep my address very short because we're on a timeline and we're a little bit behind. So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Paul Bruton. My entire career has been in the ladder industry, so man and boy, as they say. Officially 43 years, actually working in the industry, but actually as I used to have to pack ladders after school, it's more like about 53 years. So like a lot of people, the manufacturers in this room, my background comes from a family interest, and same as Hannah, David, Stephen. So I'm pleased to take on the reins of the Ladder Association. Some people might be wondering why we picked Hatherley for the meeting today. On the stage you'll see a Hatherley lattice step ladder. So that ladder was actually produced in the late 19th century, and that is the forerunner of ladders or step ladders that we see today. So that's why we picked this venue. Those of you who saw the price list last night, you could actually buy that ladder for 12 shillings in 1882. If you go on eBay today, they're more like £300. So if you can get one, you've got a good investment. My link to the industry, as I say, comes from my family. Our family firm started in Cheltenham in 1967, making aluminium step ladders in a garden shed. That now is no longer privately owned, and we're part of the Werner Group, which is a large ladder manufacturer throughout the world. Bit different scale in the States than in the UK, 40,000 ladders a day they manufacture. My history is totally in ladders, and in the next 3 years I hope to provide good support to the industry and continue the growth of the Ladder Association. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Paul. Next, we're going to call upon Mr. Don Ayres, who's going to give us a summary of the activities of the Technical Committee in the last year. There you go.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning. I'll keep this one very short as we're running a bit late.
Good man.
Very short. Manufacturers Technical Committee, I have to say thanks to all the members you see there who've contributed to the work of the committee again over the past 12 months, and some of them who have been sitting on standards committees for us, and I thank those in particular. That task, as Stephen will tell you, is not always easy, and they have done a fantastic job in contributing to the development of some of the standards that are now out there and published. Projects for the committee coming up that we are working on. We in particular need to start thinking about the manufacturing membership requirements and manufacturer's audit, and this has come partly out of the telescopic ladder problems that we had at the beginning of, I think it was the end of last year. And that means that we need to make sure that the products that our members are selling are in some way meet a standard, or they can prove that they are safe products. One of the other things we're working on is the Code of Practice. The Code of Practice now has been around for a number of years, as you know. It hasn't changed in that time, but lots of things have changed. It references standards that shortly won't exist any longer, and it references standards that have moved on. So that all needs to be looked at. There is also the work to think about in terms of the roof ladder standard that's now out, and how the Code of Practice might encompass that. And I think we will be looking at a new way of formatting that code, maybe breaking it into parts and different sections, see how we get on with that. Standards update very, very quickly. Parts 1, 2 and 3 are all now published. So they've all been revised now. They are all published in the latest revision. Part 4, the multi-hinge ladder, that is now mid-drafting. It's not going, for the UK, or in the UK's view, it's not going as well as it could do. There are things in there that I think the UK may have concerns about, and it's possible that, like the telescopic ladder standard when it first came out, there'll probably be something in the national forward saying that the UK is not entirely happy with Part 4 if it carries on the way it's going. That's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. Part 6, telescopic ladder, that has now been revised, and now the UK is quite happy with the content of it, so its concerns in the national forward, that will be coming out, and the UK will be supporting Part 6 telescopic ladders. I like to think that some of those changes are actually as a result of the problems that we have with telescopic ladders, and that did urge the industry to make some changes. Part 7, mobile platform ladders, that's carrying on as it is. There's no changes to that. But the new part that you will be seeing that's now started work are the ladders with a separate platform, the multi-purpose ladders. There is now the drafting work on that has now started, and that should see a standard for that finished. And I know these things seem to take forever, but that should start to see that finished by the end of next year, maybe. 2037 and 1129, they are now both officially, they're both obsolete now. So that's the old aluminium ladder and the class 1 ladder, class 3 ladders, and the timber versions of those. Those are officially obsolete, and some of the members of the technical committee are working on the group that is looking at how those can be revised to take those ladders out of that standards, but to keep them for stagings and trestles. And finally, 8634 roof ladder. Martin touched on that. We're very pleased that that got published. That's now out there. First time there's been a standard for roof ladders, and it's now for manufacturers to see how they embrace that and how they use that for roof ladders going forwards. That's all I have to report. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Don. Now we have Steve Booker. He's going to tell you all about what's been happening with the training committee and what's planned.
Oh yes.
Good man, Kim.
Good morning. Morning. Right, so next. Been an interesting year. The challenge we've had in the training committee is that there's been so much change. We have had, as many as you will know, for a long time we've been needing to change our user course, inspection course. But with changes to the standards, with the changes to EM 131, we've had to tread water a little bit, waiting for the impact of them and how they would change before we could actually set ourselves up for the new course. I'm pleased to say that we're at the kind of draft stage now, and we should have something to show you by the middle of this year when we finish all the various reviews. And we'll be rolling out a new half-day user course then. But just looking at some of the figures, it's been another good year. You can see that in 2017 we completed a total of 9,197 delegates being trained, which again was quite a big uplift on previous years. So year on year we're still seeing the Ladder Association gaining a lot more traction in the training world, which is one of our challenges. If I go right back to when I first joined the committee, was that how did the Ladder Association become the go-to training body? So I'm really pleased to see that we are gaining that traction. It's been a slow journey, but we're now starting to focus, and with some of the work that Don and Martin and always mentioned, we will, with the standards being brought on, we are being seen to be the go-to association, if you like, for that kind of training. Again, with training centres, 35 main, 72 satellites. Again, it's just evidence that we're gradually being seen to be the go-to. And I'd like to see our next year, as we bring out these new courses, as we see especially the work with roof ladders, which has been a long time coming. As many people will say that roof ladders for a long time, it's me personally, I was waiting for the first test case. you know, without any instructions, without any standard. We have products in the market that potentially could have been very difficult to defend. But now we're moving forward with that. Now we've got the standard. Now we can actually write a good training course for people that use these in everyday use. You know, your roofers, your aerial installers, chimneys, all this kind of stuff. Desperately needed. Again, the instructor base is gradually topping up. 86 registered instructors, which is not bad for, you know, UK coverage. And I know a lot more that are waiting in the wings to see how we develop this next year. So far in 2018, 2,056 ladder cards already, which would indicate that we're on for another record year. So I'm pleased to report on that as well. And again, it's all about recognition in the workplace. We've got some challenges ahead, but I really do believe that we're in a good place now to take the market and become the go-to. Right, so as I mentioned already, we'll have a new half-day user course coming out, scheduled for the middle of this year. I think we should have something in front of you all. It will be, you know, reviewed a couple of times before being released, so we can iron out all the bugs that normally happen. You know, there has been a history sometimes of courses being released and everyone finds all the spelling mistakes, which we don't want to do again. So if you remember back to last year, we were talking about the animated DVD. Well, that will be included or embedded within the new course, and it will be a much more easily flowing course, which will be presented by the instructor, because there has been a move in some awarding bodies to move away from this, you know, allow instructors to do what they're paid to do. You know, we're not presenters, we're instructors. And I still believe, and I think most instructors I speak to believe, they want the ability to stand up and do what they do well, to deliver their knowledge to the trainee base they're working with. We don't want to stand there with a clicker and just click away. So the DVD or the animation will be used to reinforce what's already been presented. Some of the other things we're looking at. Now, for a long time, I've heard over and over from many instructors that the inspection course could be, let's say, a little bit more, a little bit more information there. They've questioned whether we cover enough, and they're doing these back-to-back courses. Personally, I felt that we've got to start looking sometimes at the instructors and the day they have, and some of them you get a full day of doing ladder, and then you have an inspection course on the afternoon, which potentially could be joined by new delegates. You've got to do the whole thing all over again, and a lot of it's repeated. So what we're proposing and working on again for delivery in the middle of this year will be a combined user and inspector course, which will not take away anything from the content of the inspection course, but will accept there's a lot of duplication when we're dealing with pre-use inspection and formal inspection. So we can embed that right way through and call it a full-day course and deliver it that way. That doesn't mean to say for 1 second we're going to come away from having a standalone inspection course as well for those that already have the user ticket that want to. So you'll have more choice. And then the steps and stalls. I mean, for those instructors that are in the room, could I just ask how many have actually delivered steps and stalls? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, not a lot of us, is there? I think people have, it's been a little bit woolly as to exactly what the steps and stalls, you know, we know when we read the intent of the course as to what it was meant to be achieving, but we feel that it could be honed a little bit better to deal with the people that only use the smaller end of the ladder access market. You know, it was originally said it's for the retailers, it's for this, but I think, I mean, personally, in my company, I've dealt with a lot of clients that only use step ladders. They don't want to be trained on leaning ladders. So this course, I think we can move into that area so it works for those clients. So then we'll have another tool in the box, as it were, that we can roll out for those particular clients that want just the lower end of the ladder market. And more excitingly, some of the new things we're considering. So ladder stability and safety, as far as some of the systems that are out there. We actually train now, you know, ladder stabilising devices should be compatible. But that always answers the question, how do you know they're compatible? So we've decided in the training committee we need to do some work around compatibility, what works, what doesn't work, and some guidance basically on ladder stabilising devices and general ladder safety. Now again, it's going to be one of the latter courses we put out, and it's a lot of work, and it may even mean that we have to elicit some work around even a new standard, because a lot of ladder stabilising devices currently don't actually work with any standards. So to me, that's screaming out for some work. So we'll throw that one back at Don later. And then we've got the use of roof ladders, which I forget the amount of instructors that have come to me and said, what are we doing about roof ladders? Because every time I run a ladder association course, I have roofers, chimneys, aerial installers that say, yeah, great, I can get up to the gutter now, but what about the roof? Well, I'm sure you'll appreciate, when we haven't got a standard, it's very difficult to come up with a safe system of work. So now we've got the standard, we can start work on trying to bring together this training format that will actually, hopefully when we've finished it, be another industry-leading standard. There's a few people out there training roof ladders at the moment, but I'm really keen that we as the Ladder Association are able to take them under our wing and train them properly, because I think it's important that our message is the one that people listen to. Ultimately, we've got a lot of people very invested, very passionate about the ladder industry, and it doesn't sit well with me when I've got people going outside of the Ladder Association for their training. So I think we need to bring that on board, and it's something I know both myself and my colleagues in the training committee are very passionate about trying to bring to the table for you. So we'll look out for that one. As I say, the challenges are still there. I don't think there's very long goes on before you read other reports about someone else falling off a ladder. You know, either being seriously injured or worse. So our work is not yet done. So we need more instructors, we need more people, and if any of you, while I'm on the subject of my friends in the training committee, we're always looking out for people that are passionate about ladders. If you've got a few hours you can share every so many months, then please let me know. Believe you me, it's not as scary as people think sometimes sitting on a committee. But anyone got any time they're willing to give up for it, we're always welcome new members. So finally, I'd like to thank everyone that's on the training committee with me for their hard work. And that's about me done for the year.
Thank you very much indeed, Steve. We're now going to ask Gary Chudley to come up and give us some words of wisdom, well I use that term loosely, regarding PR and marketing.
Thank you, Peter. Hello everyone. Feels kind of like a TED Talk now with the fancy screen and all that kind of stuff, but it's not going to be as good as a TED Talk. Expect stuttering, mispronouncing words, so you're in for a bumpy ride, guys. So the marketing panel, we introduced this at the last AMM. We began talking about how we were setting up. It's now set up. Lou, these are all the members. We've got, of course, Jason, my gaffer, a nice Scottish term for all of you. We actually had the first physical meeting yesterday, which was very successful. We spoke in depth about the upcoming campaigns, some successive campaigns I've currently done, which I'll cover in the future slides as well. But if anybody's interested from your organisations, marketing professionals want to get involved, please let me know, because the more the merrier. The whole purpose is banding together the knowledge and expertise in order to improve upon campaigns and have a combined message going out about, we'll promote the industry and ladder safety. So one of the big campaigns we did was for EM131, they changed the portable ladder standards. And we produced this lovely wee guide document, which if any of you guys don't have a physical copy, we've got some out at the registration desk. The result of that campaign is we allowed physical orders. We've shipped about 2K so far. We put it in inserts with various publications, different sort of industry body magazines, safety professional magazines like Toolbiz Hire, those kind of ones. Just that was the best way to get the information straight to the target audience. And we created a landing page on the website where people could sign up, they could download the guide. The idea being that we want to build a healthy database of safe professionals, those responsible for safety in the workplace, so that we can continue to promote the safe use of ladders through various email campaigns. So that really complements any sort of efforts we're going to do in the future. Telescopic ladder, that was in response, of course, to the product recall. This guide was put together. We've seen some good success with it. We've only had 500 downloaded. That is due to, initially we had a more complicated sign-up form, but we're going to push that forward, which I'll cover in the slide when it comes to looking at the future. We did, however, have really good success in terms of getting endorsements with various high-up safety organisations, so that was a real win, and that will be really good for us pushing the guide forward. There we go. Training campaign. This is one that we talked about launching last year. We hit a few hurdles in trying to get that out. We had a change up in priorities. There was the standard campaigns that we put more of our resources into, which in turn is going to complement the training campaign when it launches, which is imminent. For example, the database of safety professionals, that's teed up just to hit a wee email right in the inbox, you know. Also, we had quite a lot of trouble with the agency. We employed the services of 15 who created all the sort of creative assets, so like your, infographics, landing page, article content, everything that makes like a multimedia campaign. And I don't know if you guys experience this with your own agencies and organisations, but they find it really hard to get the messaging right. I don't know if it's just not understanding the full technical details of the safety industry, but we had to do a lot of redrafts of ourselves, which unfortunately caused delays. But we're getting over the hurdle, and we're going to be in the green. So keep a lookout for more information that coming soon. The next step. The previous campaigns, will expand upon them, will improve upon them, especially as more information becomes available, so we'll keep in communication with these safety professionals. And roof ladder standards, that's a wee cheeky infographic we slapped together. And so we'll be looking at sort of simplified messaging for that as well, to let people be aware of the changes, what they can expect to do. That's what we all want to do, is make sure that they know about it, and if there's any actions to stop any confusion. Thank you very much. I just realised there's no microphone there, it's time mic.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you. That was nice and brief. And Martin is going to be even more brief. Well, Martin de Vries is going to give you an update on technology and where we're going with it. Martin, you're leading into our coffee time.
Yes, that is why I'm going to be really
Good.
very brief.
Good man.
Okay. A lot has happened behind the scenes in the last year. We had an awful lot of work to do to get to where we are today, but you may not have seen much about it yet. Well, I'm going to reveal a few things today that is going to impact you quite shortly. Firstly, the mobile app has now been around for a year. We have asked you or those users that have downloaded it for suggestions on making the app do the things that we want it to see to do. We had a number of responses, which was really quite nice. We have now made an update with various fixes, including, for example, that we now have geographically located member search. So if you would look for members here in Gloucester, then the most nearby members would show up first. We are now ready to start upgrading to another version. Now these fixes, they will be coming live very shortly. In fact, actually, Peter and I already had a preview of it. We need to iron out a few minor bugs, and then it will go live. You should therefore, all those people that have already got the ladder app will get a notification saying there's an update available, please download it now, and then you will get the latest version with the bugs fixed. We are then ready to start upgrading to a new version with your ideas. Now, as I said, I already had a number of ideas and suggestions for stuff we could put into the ladder app. But I am intending to go out shortly into consultation with the members. How we are going to do that, I'm not entirely sure yet, but we may email you asking you specifically what kind of stuff you think would be what you would like to see in your app. And then we're going to put up a plan to see which of these ideas could work for us, and then make a design or a specification for a new version of the app. Right, next up is online registration system. You have been using, or our training members have been using our old online training center, online registration system to register all the new delegates that have passed their training courses. That system is going to be shortly replaced with a much neater, much better, much faster, easier to use system. We are currently in the process of setting up the software for this. We now need to convert the data from the old system because we're going to pull everything across. So you will, in the new system, be able to access all the old records. And then we need to do a bit of final testing. Next, what we would like to do is make sure that all the user instructions and the screencasts are ready for you to go out, and then give you all a chance to have a look at the new system before we go live. We also need to pick a suitable date to go live, because we need to find a date that really suits everybody, that we switch from the old system to the new system. We want to make sure that everybody is ready for it too, and that you don't come in the morning in the office and you see a new system and think, oh, what's how does this work? And then, of course, we will go live. So we will quite soon let you know when we think that the appropriate go live date is, but we'll do that again in consultation with the people like the council, making sure that we do this right. And finally, I wanted to speak briefly with you about what's coming on the 25th May of 2018. What is that, you think? Well, most of you will probably have heard of it. They have made a lot of noise about this, but these are the general data protection regulations. And we as an organization too need to, of course, make sure that we do what is required. Recently, as an organization, we have obtained Cyber Essentials Plus certification that deals with part of this. It provides us with the evidence that the Information Commissioner needs to show that we protect the data that we have in our organization adequately. However, we are right in the middle of starting a series of training sessions with our staff to make them aware of the implications of these general data protection regulations. We will then also provide we'll do an information audit, finding out what information we have about personal or about individuals, and also look to see whether or not we need to clean up some data that we no longer need. Finally, we will then communicate with the council, the committee, and also the members about your part in this, to provide you with information and advice. General data protection regulations, I'm not going to spend a lot of time explaining that now, obviously, because you want to have your cup of coffee, but I would highly recommend that you have a look at it if you haven't done so yet. It is really very important that you do comply with this, and we are subject to this because we do record a lot of personal data. And that's me. Thank you very much.
Now we have Chris Smith, who's going to tell you all about training and audit.
It's going to bore the life out of you.
In 1.5 minutes.
Somebody said we were on a short time span here.
Yes, you are.
I know. And I obviously got the memo for being the best dressed person. Yep. So, good morning. Are there any instructors in the room? I've seen some hands going up earlier on. Please don't take this bit personally. Okay.
Oh dear.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Thank you. So, introduction, I'm going to, so you know who your auditor is, I'm actually going to put a picture of them up on here. You can see who they're going to be. In main centres, I've seen there was different numbers mentioned between two people this morning. Being an auditor, I know exact numbers, okay? And of the satellite centres as well. Unannounced audits, this was spoke about yesterday at the training committee meeting. I know that Steve touched a bit on it there, but I'll give a bit more indications of what's happening. So our auditors, Paul Pritchard, who has now retired. Some of you may remember Paul, he covered the southwest. We have George Lopez, who covers the southeast. We have Jeff, I have currently got Vertigo Car, who covers the central area. And then me, I cover the north, or the northern hemisphere. Pictures, so Paul, there he's there. Those of you who remember Paul, that's what he looked like. He's now sunning himself on the south coast, I believe, and on the occasion heads up to Larkhall, in Scotland. George Lopez, found a fantastic picture of George in his younger years. He's since grown a bit then. That shirt no longer fits him. I think he's handed it down to his son. And Jeff, as you can see, a bit dapper there with his dicky bow on. If you'd like that picture, and of course, had to get my good old handsome self up on there. Yep. So, audits. There are 37 main centres currently, as of today. And we have covering non-conformities there. We've got wrong answers on the marking sheet. These are things we spoke about yesterday at the training committee, where the auditors normally go in and just check paperwork. Using wrong instructor number, that means that the auditor turns up expecting to see someone delivering the training course and it's the wrong person in the room. So they've put the wrong number on the booking system. Not completing the practical test paper. Okay, so there's a practical element in there that hasn't always been completed, so they must be completed. Okay? Again, please, those of you instructors in the room, don't take this personally. Training location not completed, so when we ask you to fill in the paperwork, so when the auditors turn up, we'd like to know where that training took place. Not that you're trying to hide where you are, so you don't register as a satellite. Using out-of-date forms, okay, so we have a revision number on there and a date on there. Okay, and on the odd occasion you may have run out and see the need to photocopy. We have an online shop where you can purchase this stuff at a very, very reasonable cost. Trend analysis. Again, for those of you training members in the room, this is when we want you to assess what goes on over a long period of time. That could be what wrong answers have been put down in the test paper, or it could be the feedback from the delegates saying that the chairs in the training room were not comfortable. So your spur to action there would be, after 65 courses, the chairs which are hard, we need to go and purchase new ones. Okay? So we need to listen to our customers. And the step exercise not used, or not being used. Okay, so again, those of you instructors in the room will know what I'm talking about. Okay? These are not in there, or they are not completed. And delegate signature missing. Okay, please can you sign the paperwork, Mr. or Mrs. Delegate, at the start of the day or before you leave. So these are the normal things that we find when we turn up and do a main training centre audit. This is the things that we do once per year. Okay? And finally, CPD. And those of you instructors who also do our PASMA training, you'll know that we've gone digital. And I believe we'll be going exactly the same way with the CPD here. We're going to be removing the paper aspect of it. Then you'll be uploading your CPD online, in which the auditor will check upon arrival. So, satellite centres, okay? We do them every 3 years. Every 3 years we turn up and we ensure that the training room meets the criteria. You have an indoor practical area which also meets the criteria. Okay, what non-conformities we find there? Sometimes, I know you might find this strange, that it doesn't meet the height requirement. Okay? We've turned up on certain occasions to do an assessment and we've come in the room which has got about this much height to do a practical element. And as we know yesterday, Chris, that there's a requirement for that. Okay? If any instructors in here, would you like to give me the height? 3 metres, okay? Not 2.5 or 2.75, but 3 metres. Address of the training committee, the address of the training centre, we'll look at that. So if you turn up, when we turn up to do a satellite centre assessment, and we find that that already exists as a training company, okay, then you will find that the reason why we haven't included that is that they are a training company and you're circumventing the system to stop them from becoming a member. Okay. Unannounced audits. Yeah, we have companies out there who engage with other companies who may be a training company to deliver training on their behalf. Okay. And then try and register them as a satellite centre. Unannounced audits. Yesterday we had a bit of a push from our training committee to say what happens when we turn up on an unannounced audit. Now, on site, unannounced audits, when all of you instructors there cart your 65 million pieces of kit in your small van to the site to do your training, we have a list on there of the equipment that you need to have. So it's easier for you to do the training back at base. It's more difficult for you to do the training on a customer's premises with the requirement you need for the equipment. So what do we find? Okay, non-conformities. We found as we turn up we're using the wrong version of the course. Okay, so we have down in the bottom on there the version and when it was released and so on. And it's going to be a bit easier when we go more digital with that. Lack of sufficient equipment. As I said, we turn up, and even at training centres, the lack of sufficient equipment. Check the procedures manual. Check the list of required equipment that you need for delivering that training course. Makes our job easier when we come and we pat you on the back and tell you you're doing a great job. Marking wrong answers correct. We've actually seen that on the day on an unannounced audit when we've maybe reviewed the test paper and the instructor has marked a wrong answer correct. Very, very strange. And the wrong type of course booked. We turn up to do an unannounced audit on a user course, then we find there's an inspector course going on. So making sure that the course that you're actually delivering is the one that's booked on the system. I know some of you may find that strange, but it does happen. Okay? And as said about the using the wrong paperwork, photocopies. We don't charge a fortune for the paperwork. Okay, you can order it online in abundance. Please make sure that you use the original copies. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much.
5 minutes.
Chris, Jason next. Jason is going to tell you about our engagement and communication, and he's going to do that in 2 minutes because he's taking up coffee.
Good morning, everybody. So, a really quick update, as I'm in coffee time, on the work that we do with engagement. So on your behalf, we deal with representation with various government and agency levels. As you can see, we are represented on the Business Regulation Panel. We sit on 3 health and safety committees, and through the Arts Industry Forum, we work with making sure our interests are looked after with CITB, and then representing us at trade association events and health and safety shows. So key activities that we've undertaken over the last year. We've spoken at 7 safety dialogue panels, very successful events. On average, there might be 90 to 120 delegates in the audience. We don't know the questions when we start. It's literally turn up and have anything asked. They're really informative, and the audience really appreciates being able to talk to somebody face to face. We've presented at London Work at Heights seminar, which was populated really by safety professionals. We've a large collaboration going with the Health and Safety Executive on working well together at height, where we present practical workshops. Those sessions are brilliant because it's reaching a hard-to-reach audience for us, which is the micro businesses, the one-man employees. Very practical-based sessions, 25 to 35 delegates in each workshop, and they rotate after 15 to 20 minutes. Practical hands-on, where we're talking about the inspection, what people need to consider if they're using a ladder. They've worked really well. We also work on SHAD days, and I'm aware some members also do this in their own, under their own banner, but we contribute to the safety, health, working at height days with the HSE as well. So moving on, we are now trialling the updated version of the Advocate Scheme. The main point behind this is to be able to provide consistent presentations that people can go and deliver on the Ladder Association's behalf. We get requests on a regular basis that at the moment we struggle to fulfill. So the idea is to provide a consistent set of content, and then for members to be able to go out and distribute and present the information on our behalf. Thank you.
Good man. Well done. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the giants of this industry, one of the giants of this association, Mr. David Walker, announced that he was retiring, which saddened us immensely. However, he's made his decision, and that's how it is. David, can I ask you please to come forward to make a small presentation? Small.
Just before I hand this to David, I'd just like to say on behalf of the association that we cannot understate what David has done for both the association and the safety of ladder users in general. His work over the last 10, 20 years has been immense, and he's taken this association, as we talked earlier, from a gentleman's club into something that really provides benefits and service to our industry. And as I say, cannot understate how much he has given to us. So thank you very much indeed, David.
Yeah.
I know it's coffee break, and I wasn't expecting this at all, but it is a great honour to receive it, and thank you very much indeed. My grandfather was chairman of this association back in 1950s. My uncle was a chairman of the association in the early 90s. I chaired it in 2005 for a few years, 3 years, and my son is now in my business, and hopefully will follow on with that legacy. We're great supporters of the association. I really do appreciate this. Thank you.